The first time I had to speak to a group of strangers for a presentation, I almost ran off the stage. If my boss wouldn't have been sitting right in front of me and literally she stopped me from leaving the stage, I would have run off. But I'm here to tell you today about 3 things you can do to overcome fear in your life, whether it's fear of public speaking, like I used to have, whether you're stuck in a relationship and you think, I really need to move on, but I'm afraid I don't know how to do that. I'm afraid I don't know who I'm going to be without so-and-so. Maybe you know that you need to move to a new town or to a new job, and yet the comfort of where you are, the fact that you can predict it, you know it, is keeping you stuck, and the fear of what happens if I move on and I make the wrong mistake. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 ways that you can overcome fear in your life. But first off, if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Rachel Stravelli, and I am so excited to see you. I make new videos every Friday. They help you to embrace your whole self and to expand your life, to express yourself more, to have greater happiness. And sometimes we even talk about gardening. All right. I was in college when I had to give my first presentation to a group of strangers. And literally, my boss, Kim, kept me from walking off the stage. I saw my seat and it was empty and I was scared. And I thought, I paused at one point because I didn't know what to say next. And I thought, I'm leaving the stage. And she must have seen the fear in my eye and as me walking off stage. And she didn't physically stop me, but she stopped me with a question. And I don't remember what the question is now, but she said, Rachel, and then asked me something. After that day, I realized that 1, if I was going to be a teacher, I needed to do something about this fear. And 2, that I didn't want it to control my life. I didn't want to embarrass myself, because if Kim, my boss, wouldn't have stopped me from walking off the stage, what would have happened? I would have walked off the stage and it would probably have been a more traumatic experience. Now, if you've had some type of trauma about fear that is keeping you stuck and you think, oh, I've had much worse situations, I believe that one of these 3 methods that I'm going to tell you will help you to work with it. So here is one of the first things that you can do. I want you to find a way to name the fear, talk to it. You can literally name it, like give it a cutesy name, or just say it out loud. At that point, after that day, I was like, I'm afraid of speaking in front of a group. And I told the group of people who had been at the conference presenting with me. And they knew it and I knew it. So then I could start doing something about it. A lot of times when fear is just in our heads or it's stuck in our hearts and we don't say it out loud, it feels bigger than it might actually be. And even though fear of public speaking is something that's very scary and very common for many people, there are also many, many people who have overcome it. And I'll get to that in a minute with number 2. So when you name it, you take it out of this murky, scary place inside where we can keep on ruminating and feeling anxious about it and obsessing over it, and you speak it out into the world. You can even write it on a piece of paper. And then you can start to think, okay, this fear is something that maybe it's been with me since I was a child. Maybe this is a fear that culturally I picked up. You can start to examine it. You may also want to try feeling gratitude for it. Many of us have fears related to coping mechanisms that we have adopted that got us through certain periods of our life, but which no longer serve us. And so when you want to overcome a fear, this first step about talking to your fear or naming it is also about creating a new story about it. If you keep it within and you just keep in the fear place where you just keep on being afraid of it, then you can stay stuck there. You can feel paralyzed by it. You don't make new decisions. You don't move forward. Whereas if you can speak it out and you can start developing a new story, a new belief about what you have about this fear, you can do something to change it. I know many parents right now, this is August 2020, many parents are a little bit afraid, what am I going to do about school coming up? And there's folks talking about that, folks trying to figure it out. I'm happy that people are talking about it. I also have been encouraging people I know to stop letting yourself fall into the impression that this one decision you make is going to impact your child's whole life. If you're worried about the health and safety of them and you think, well, yes, this one decision could impact their whole life, then that gives you information how you make your decision. If you're not necessarily concerned about their health and safety, or you don't think this one decision could impact their whole life, then that allows you to start looking at the situation differently. You can make a choice and say, this is a choice that I'm going to make for 6 weeks or 6 months, and then I can make a new choice. That's a new story that you have that loosens the control that this fear has over you. Because for many parents, this fear of making a decision for school is one of two things I've seen: fear of the health and safety of your child or your family, or fear of what if I make the wrong choice? And maybe a third fear is, what if my child falls behind, doesn't do well, like what's best for their mental and intellectual well-being? So once you start to name it, then that can help you. Two of the other methods I'm going to share may also help you if that's your current decision that you're working through. Okay, so your second tip that I have for you, or your second method to help you work through fear, is I want you to look at either people in your actual life or mentors, influencers, celebrities, people in history who have overcome the fear that you have. So when I had my fear of speaking in front of a group, one, I knew 3 other people from my college who had been there speaking and who weren't afraid. I knew also there was a drama department. We didn't have a public speaking class, but we had a drama department. And because I knew I was going to be a teacher, I thought, I can't not overcome this fear, or I won't be able to follow my career path. And so I have to do something about it. And so what I did is I looked at other people I knew who had overcome the fear, and I decided to either indirectly or directly to learn from them. I had a good friend who was a storyteller, and my college in the drama department had a storytelling class. So I took that class. And even though I didn't feel like I did that great at it, we had to be getting in front of the group on a regular basis and sharing stories and developing stories and working on our presentation skills. I still to this day am working on my presentation skills. I'm in a Toastmasters group. I'm presenting to you. And so I'm constantly improving. And I also always look to who are the role models that I can learn from. Because whether we're learning from them indirectly or directly, there's actual lots of research that shows having a surrogate successful example showing you that someone has overcome that fear that you have, somebody who has lived through it or who it doesn't impact them anymore, makes your chances more likely of overcoming it if you look to that person. It kind of cracks into the belief that this fear is going to hold you back when you see, well, so-and-so did it. And I really want you to focus on the positive aspect that somebody else has done it, not some people can get into a negative or self-judging aspect of so-and-so did it, why can't I do it? You're just not there yet. Okay, so they may have been working on it for years. I have people tell me sometimes, oh, you're good at public speaking. Well, I've been working on it for a while. There's still more room for improvement. So find that person, and maybe even more than one person, who you can look to and they can be your reminder. They did it, I can do it. I literally will repeat that phrase to myself when I'm going through a fear that I'm working on overcoming or working on transforming in my life, and it keeps me moving forward. Now, here's another key thing that I will mention. I still get nervous presenting to groups that I've never spoken to before. I sweat. Sometimes my voice gets a little bit wavery. I have to do things to prepare before I do it so that I feel calmer. However, I know now that that's what happens. Like, I still get nervous and I move through it. And many people will say, you can't fix or erase or totally squelch fear. You can't erase it and make it go away forever. Depending on the fear, maybe yes, maybe no. But once you work through it multiple times, you know you have the capability to do something despite the fear. I do believe, as many people say, there is no life that is without fear, in that there are always new fears that can pop up. But the more capable we make ourselves of dealing with that fear and addressing it and moving forward and not letting it keep us stuck, the more we expand our skills, the more we grow as people, both personally and spiritually. All right, the third one, this is one of the methods that I use pretty much every time now when I'm trying to overcome a fear. I visualize my future when I have moved beyond that fear. I currently have a fear that I'm working on right now. I'm not going to go into detail because it just feels so personal, but I will spend time almost every day when I'm either being mindful or in a meditation session, and I will visualize myself 1 year in the future, 1 month in the future, 3 years in the future, when that fear is no longer something stopping me, when I am living as I believe I will be living when I have overcome that fear, when it's not holding me back. And when I visualize this, sometimes I visualize it with pictures. I also really focus on the emotions that I feel, how proud I feel, how happy I feel, how good I feel, all the positive emotions, the positive aspects happening in my life. That story that I told you of when I think I was like 19 or 20, and I gave that presentation to the first group where I didn't know people. One of the things that happened is at the end of my presentation, it was like a panel situation. And at the end of when other people had presented, people kept on asking me questions about my presentation during the Q&A. I got the most questions. And I talked about it with my peers, and we all laughed about how I was so scared to finish it, but yet everybody wanted to know what I had to say about it. And that if I hadn't completed it, there never would have been that whole dialogue. And it reminds me now, time and time again, when I give a speaking presentation and when I'm thinking of other fears, I think there's something that I gain and that other people gain by me moving through this fear, that if I stay where I am, if I stay stuck, if I stay paralyzed, that will not happen. And so personally, for me, that motivates me because I feel a personal reason to move forward. And I also see how when I do something, if it has a greater impact, it inspires people. I then am a role model to other people. And so because we're social creatures, when each of us grows, we inspire each other and we move forward, and human consciousness changes and grows and expands, and it's this amazing, beautiful thing. And so you may want to let that be a motivator for you if that is something that does motivate you. So when you're visualizing this life beyond your fear, you're really delving into what are the benefits of me moving beyond it. And you're also seeing in your mind's eye that it is possible for you to be there. Many studies have shown that when you visualize something, your brain doesn't know the difference between a true memory of something that actually happened in your life, or if it's just a made up memory that you're playing over and over and over again in your head. And so, for example, when I think about that moment of me going off the stage, I don't dwell on the fact that I almost jetted off the stage. I dwell on the fact that I stayed there, I gave my presentation, and the impact it had. That's what I think about. My thing that I'm working on now, I think about what it's going to be like 1 year from now or 6 months from now when I've overcome it and my life has changed. Your fear has been somewhat helpful like I said in the first method, up until this point. But to get to the next place in your life, you're going to have a new way of working with it. And that's what visualizing your future can really help you with. Now, before I let you go, because you've been listening this long, I have a fourth bonus tip for you. All right. And this is something, if you want to reach out to me because you want a little bit of help with it, this is one of the ways that I help my one-on-one clients, and even in some of my group coaching, we do this too. So a bonus tip that I recommend is brainstorm a list of what are all the different ways you could address this fear in your life? What are all the different ways you could handle it? For example, if you want to move to a new career path, brainstorm, how could I interview people, like do informational interviews? How many people do I know working in those other fields? Can I update my LinkedIn account? Do I have enough skills that I could move over right now? Brainstorm all of the different ways that you could go about getting this new position. Also, let's say you want to leave a relationship, but you're really scared what's going to happen if you do. Brainstorm, here's what I'm going to do to get out. Here's, how I've made sure that I've got enough money and I've got enough friends to help me, or whatever. Here's what I'm going to do if things go bad, if the divorce goes bad, if I get scared. Here's how I'll make my stuff stay to my commitment. Brainstorm, list out, think of all the ways that you could come about this, because then what you start doing is your fear has made your mind be a little bit closed-minded and think that there's only one way, and that's what fear has told you, that fear is the only truth. But when you let yourself be totally open-ended and brainstorm even crazy ideas, well, I'll just move somewhere and change my name so so-and-so won't be able to find me, or maybe I'll do the Peace Corps, or maybe I'll dye my hair and get a nose job. Like, brainstorm even crazy things, or what might seem crazy to you, because what you want to do is start opening your mind up to seeing there are many possibilities. There are many ways that you could handle this. And sometimes it also helps to brainstorm with somebody else, because you get all of their new ideas helping you out. All right, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can hit the subscribe button below. I do one-on-one coaching, as I mentioned briefly, and I also have small group programs that run periodically. So if you sign up below, right now the freebie on my website is 7 easy ways to connect to nature that will lift your spirits and make you feel amazing. And I would love if you join me there. And thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.